So I hope you could feel, besides hearing, you could feel the vibration of that beautiful singing bowl. So last week, Eugen spoke about healing collective pain. He talked mostly about racism and slavery, but he also mentioned other abuse, including abuse of women. In February of 2018, Statista.com reported that South Koreans considered domestic abuse against women and girls the #1 social issue. Recently, we've seen the rise of the Me Too movement around the world, but notably in Korea. Today, I want to talk about trust, because trust is an essential quality of spiritual leadership. How can we trust in such a context of abuse, when our own past experience may have brought us distrust and fear? Fear for countless reasons, not only from the abuse we may have experienced as a man or a woman. And what does it really mean to trust? And how can you trust wisely? So, in my over 45 years of living consciously, I've found there are many levels of trust to explore and open. It takes time for trust to really land in us. It's not something we rush. But what we trust and how deeply we trust has a huge influence on our life, on our direction in life, on our creativity and effectiveness. So one way to see this topic is we're always trusting. We're always trusting something, because even distrust is really trust in fear. Fear is the opposite of love. People often say hate is the opposite of love, but underneath hate is fear. So even when we think we're not trusting, we are really trusting fear. We always have a choice. What do we choose to trust? And what is wise to trust? So we could use many different words, but I want to start with, it's wise to trust the power of life, the power that created the whole universe and continues to create every moment. Really, is there anything more trustworthy than the power that brings life and beauty in our world? If you meditate on that, why would we trust anything else more than that? But inside trusting the creative power of life is trusting our ability to discern it and harmonize with it. That is an art that takes time to develop. To say this in other words, we're trusting the laws of the universe, the laws of being. And another step inner to that, we're really trusting the expression of our own true spirit, our true character, our true being, or our highest perception of truth, whatever that is in the present moment. If we follow our highest perception of truth, it will lead us in a creative direction. Even if our perception of truth is flawed, trusting it, and then honestly reflecting on what we learned, will deepen and hone our perception of truth. So what I've said mostly so far is quite abstract. So let's look at how that can play out in real life. The first example I want to give relates to how can we trust people. Probably we have each thought about that a lot. Some of you have heard me speak about a mentor that I had for 18 years. He was a man who was 30 years older than me.
네.
When I first met him, do you think I trusted him? No! When I met him, even though I was just 21, I had already traveled for 6 months in Europe. I had finished university. I had been living on my own for some years, and I had begun a career in social work. So when I met my later to become mentor, I had enough experience of the world that I concluded I don't trust any man. Well, I had a boyfriend, but I only trusted him in some ways. So how did I move to the deep experience of trust that I have now? Step by step. And one of the first steps was to trust my mentor. I watched him carefully. And I noticed what I experienced when I trusted him and when I didn't. I came to realize that he was a lot wiser than me. His love was far larger and more trustworthy than I had ever experienced with anyone. He enfolded me in a golden quality of love that gave my heart a place to rest. I found a home in his heart. But his love was not just gentle. At times, he challenged me, sometimes fiercely, and that also encouraged my growth. Not long after meeting my mentor, I realized he knew me better than I knew myself. He saw qualities in me, true qualities, that I didn't even know I had. I learned so much from him. And through his guidance, my true qualities and leadership grew and bloomed. Because I found a place of rest or sanctuary in his friendship, that helped me develop a firm foundation in myself. So I could push beyond my comfort zone and explore and grow. My earlier conviction, I don't trust any man, changed first to, well, I can trust one man. But as my foundation strengthened, it changed my approach to all men. And women, too, although I had not lost my trust of women. I began to understand the challenges men had to overcome to mature into loving, trustworthy, and wise men. I realized my friendship could help draw forth qualities of true manhood in men. So instead of being a warrior criticizing men, I tried a totally new approach. To appreciate and magnify what was right in the men I knew, and to find wise ways to deal with the immaturities that I saw in them. Last week, Eugen said this: the rising of righteous warrior energy in many countries recently ultimately is rooted in the rising of the spirit of truth. He also said, how maturely warrior energy arises will be a determining factor in our future. So looking back, I see how the change in my approach to men was the maturing of my warrior energy. It was growing into righteous warrior energy. Can you sense how that might change your relationships? But also man to man, woman to woman, parent to child, child to parent. What is righteous warrior energy? Eugen said, anger is not the primary quality of true warrior energy. The primary quality is the will to righteousness. Righteous warrior energy is just, compassionate, and wise. The impulse of warrior energy not only says no to what is unrighteous, but it also exerts a powerful influence by saying yes to what is right, to magnify and help that increase. So, in our personal relationships, that could be calm conversations regarding the impact of certain behavior. Which actions help and which actions hurt. In other words, specific and what we call clean communication,
네.
which is a primary tool of warrior energy. So, my friends, if you're tempted to pull out your sword and slash things that you think are not right in people,
네.
consider first that righteous warrior energy would have greater creative impact.
네.
A warrior who knows his or her own true strength rarely needs to use the sword,
네.
because the power of his or her righteous presence is enough to stop others doing what is not right. So maybe you can see that the development of righteous warrior energy in ourselves is one way trust grows in us.